So there's this picture in my head when I think about my landing into Kenya. I'm getting on this plane. I'm landing in this airstrip in Turkana. No airport. I get off. It's scalding hot. It's December. The dust is kicking up in my face. It's like biting my throat. I'm from Colorado. It's cold. That is hot. Not prepared for that at all. I go to meet my counterpart. Common greeting is Ejok. Then you say Ejokanoi. She takes me to Nakwam Nakwi, this small remote village, and I look around and I think, where am I going to get water? I just see one small tank. That's my introduction into Kenya. So as I begin to say a little bit more, I rewind a bit. I go to one of my favorite books and consequently movie that Julia Roberts stars in called Eat, Pray, Love. And there's this theme, this one piece of this line, this little paragraph that runs through my head on my life here. And it talks about the physics of the quest. Laws that are as real as the force of gravity. And she talks about if you are brave enough to leave behind everything familiar and comfortable, to set out on a truth-seeking journey, to guard everything that you see on that path as a clue, every person you meet as a teacher, and most importantly, accept and forgive some very, very difficult realities about yourself, then the truth shall not be withheld. And in that piece, sometimes it means to lose that balance of love to gain relevancy of life. When I think about my 4 years now in Kenya, that is literally the story of my life. When I think about how I got here, that has me written all over it. So I'll take you back to when I was in class 1. I met this beautifully sweet girl named Christy, who happened to have Down syndrome. But not everyone is so nice. Kids bullied her, and they were just cruel to her. They loved making fun of her. And it shook me to my core. I went home that day, and I was just sobbing in tears. And I looked at my mom, and I asked, why would people be so cruel to someone that to me was so sweet? I didn't get it. I grew up in a home where both my parents, and especially my mom, taught me that we were all made equal. No one less and no one more. So I just couldn't get it, and I didn't understand it. So I was looking towards my mom to give me some sound advice in class 1. And she said, well, why don't you take a different angle? Well, what does that mean? I'm too young to understand that. She explained it a bit more, and so what did I do? I made Christy my best friend. We walked the halls telling God knows what jokes, but I was rolling over laughing. We shared some of our classes together, and we'd whisper to each other and tell silly jokes, all the while making teachers just absolutely livid. And our friendship sparked that intimacy of love, of unconditional, sweet, and pure love, to the point where during lunch, our table was the fullest table in the cafeteria. And that is the day that I realized love is unconditional, love is pure, and love is honest, and love is real. So then let's fast forward now to 1998 when my family moved across the country, literally ripping everything familiar away from me. I was in class 6. It was a cruel one, a really, really cruel one. Have you ever seen those American movies where that kid gets bullied? I was that kid. I got pushed into lockers. I got trays knocked out of my hand. Girls thought it was funny to just stand up in the cafeteria and make fun of me in front of everyone. It was not something I enjoyed, nor was it pleasant, nor was it loving. So it was just cruel, and I didn't get it. But then there was Christy in the back of my head, that sweet, sweet girl in the back of my head saying, just love, Anna, just love. If you love hard enough, people will get past that. So I moved into secondary school with this strong sense of self, realizing that it wasn't about everyone else, and it wasn't about what they thought, but rather it was about what I thought. Because we're all broken when it comes to us. None of us are perfect. So I grew into that. And then I went into university with that strong sense of wanting to live a purposeful life. And I dug in deep, to the point where I had an opportunity to spend 3 months between semesters in university serving a community that was ignored, that was disrespected, and had no homes in Serbia. And that was then the seed to live abroad that was planted deep, deep, deep into my heart. And I couldn't shake it. So I went back to university, I finished out my degree, and I started working for disabilities and advocating for rights and equal access. All the while thinking I just don't want to be here. I want to be abroad. I want to live somewhere else. So through much patience, through paying countless student loans, and bills, and finding places to rent, figuring out what monthly finances were, all in an attempt to adult, which didn't always do it so well. All of that time and that patience and that prayer paid off, and I ended in Kenya in October of 2012. Now, just a mere 6 months before I left, I literally met the partner of my dreams. And I've never been one of those chicks that I just really want to be married. I never had dreams of my wedding dress, never had dreams, how many kids do you want? I don't care. That was never me. So the fact that I met someone that just got me, and we were like this for those 6 months, blew me away. Ladies, you know that man or that woman that pulls out chairs, opens doors, lays out an outfit on your bed that you didn't buy, they bought, and they leave a sweet little note, please prepare yourself for a night out. When does that ever exist? Ever. Ever, in the movies maybe, or in a really nice romance novel. That was my relationship. So I was given a promise ring, obviously not wearing it, when I left. And not even a year into my service in Kenya, I had fallen head over heels for my work. And I was already extending my time. I hadn't even been 2 years into it to the point where you could say, hey, NGO, I'd like to do 3 years. No, I was barely a year into it, and I already knew I want more. I want more. I haven't had enough. I haven't even scratched the surface. I want more. But that was my truth. That was not my partner's truth. So we did not meet eye to eye, and because of that, I had to respect that choice, and we broke up. And you think, oh, it's so amicable, it's so peaceful. That must have been so easy for you. Did you even really love, or were you just pretending? Oh no, I loved. I spent countless months crying myself to sleep, waking up in the morning with my eyes swollen, losing God knows how much weight, and in general feeling angry about life. But you can't live like that forever. So I woke up one day and I said, enough. I've had enough mourning. This time of sorrow has to be done. I chose to be here. Nobody else. I quit my job. I moved across the world to be here. That was my choice. It's all on me. I don't have anyone to blame but me. That's my responsibility. So I can't sit in my misery. That's pathetic. It's time to grow up. So that night, under this beautiful Turkanan sky, I picked up all of our memories, even a teddy bear, because I just couldn't look at it. It was too painful. I set it all in the pile where, you put your trash to burn. I sent a prayer, I sent some light, and I sent some love, and I lit it on fire. Because I couldn't take it. I didn't want anything to do with it anymore. And as I watched those ashes go, my heart just lifted, and I felt a release. And I continued forward. So I'm sure all of you are thinking, like, really? Who leaves someone that does that for you? And on top of that, you moved across the world. Who does that? You left everything familiar. You didn't move to another state or, a bordering country. No, you flew across a plane. It takes at least 24 hours and 3 different planes to get here. And I don't work in the city. I work in very remote villages. So you're probably thinking, well, what do you do? And then why would you even do that? I work with the deaf and hard of hearing and kids with disabilities. I'm currently in Chamonix. We're building the first school for the deaf and hard of hearing in that whole sub-county region. I could tell you all the ins and outs of my job, but that will do nothing for you, so I want to share a couple of stories. This isn't a CV interview right now. Don't need my job skill sets. So the first story I think of is this sweet girl, Fatuma. The first time I met her, she had come to school just covered head to toe in ringworms, which happens. We're kids, at some point that can happen. You live in the middle of nowhere. But her mom just didn't care about her. She threw her away to her grandmother. And she almost died on us. I had to rush her to the hospital for weeks. Her lymph nodes were swollen. Her infection was so severe we could barely get her fevers down. And she was one of those girls that was just She had no communication because no one's taught her how to say, I'm hungry, I'm hurting, I need help. No one. And then I watched her transform. She got well. She started learning her signs. She started being able to tell us how she felt. She was empowered. And her smile, I can't ever get it out of my head. Her smile, those teeth, so big and so brilliant, with all that attitude and all that bossy behavior, had just become this whole entity. And I said, that right there, that I'll die for any day. And that is an unmatched love that nothing in this world will ever beat. Then I moved to this other boy. I just sent him to Sikri, School for the Deaf and Blind. It's the highest technical institute in Kenya for deaf and blind. It's an amazing school. And he finished his class 8, he finished his KCPE, and we got him into that school. He's an orphan. His parents both died of AIDS. He has had to work for everything. He's 24 and just graduated class 8. And he is one of the most loving, hardworking, sincere young men I have ever met that says thank you for everything you give him. Everything. There's not one thing he doesn't say thank you, and there is never, ever a complaint in his heart or out of his lips. That right there, that I will die for any day. And I can't walk away from that. Then I come to this last story I want to share. This really, really sweet girl named Stacy. She was from Tumu, in between Karatina and Nyeri. And her father, big, tall, burly man, she's 12 years old, carried her into school because she had no muscles to walk. None. She could barely stand on her own, literally crumbled her on the floor after a chief had forced them to bring her to school. For 12 years, she had been locked and chained in a room and fed like a dog. And he didn't do it because he didn't love her. He was scared what the community would have done to her, and he didn't know any better. I couldn't blame him. He was just trying to love her. So we graciously accepted her in. And we said, just leave her with us and we're going to do what we can do. And you come back and you'll see how good it is. So within 6 months, we did some intensive physical therapy, and I would take her out onto the field, and we would take a couple steps. She'd just crumple to the ground. Then we'd pick her up. She'd take a couple more steps, crumple to the ground. And she started eating more. And then you see all these deaf kids making it their personal responsibility, their job, not mine. I never asked a single one of them to take care of her. They just did it because they know how to love without condition and without barrier, and they know what love means, and they know that it means to serve others. And they helped her. And those crumples turned into one walk around the lap of the football pitch, turned into 2 walks around the 2 field laps. Then it turned into running 1 lap. Then that 1 lap turned into 2 laps. Then those 2 laps turned into 3 laps. And she just kept running. And these beautiful, misplaced teeth are always on her face. Her smile is so big and her eyes are so bright. She's learned how to do beadwork. She's learned how to communicate. I'm hungry. I'm in pain. I don't feel good. I'm happy. I'm excited. I want to do more beadwork. And she learned it quick. She just soaked up all that education and all that opportunity. And I don't know how I could ever walk away from that. How do you look at a beautiful girl like that who was given just a little teeny opportunity and she made it into the biggest mountain I've ever seen? The biggest mansion that could ever be built. That is what fulfills me. And that is why I left my relationship. That is why I moved across the country, across the world. That is why I left all things familiar and comfortable. Because when I think about what does love have to do with it, that's it right there. And that's what drives me further every day. That's what makes me happier every day. And that's what is the beat of my heart. So for me, that is what love is.